Good evening and welcome to the championship round of the National World War II Museum's 2018 High School Quiz Bowl, presented by the New Orleans Advocate. My name's Pete Crane and I'm the museum's Vice President of Education and Access, and I'm your quiz master tonight. We're coming to you live We come to you live tonight to bring you an exciting contest between Central High School from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and St. Thomas High School all the way from Houston, Texas. This year we have an exciting matchup of two previous winners. Central won 3 years in a row in 2013, 14, and 15. But St. Thomas took the championship last year and is going for the repeat. On February 24th, 20 high school teams met at the National World War II Museum in downtown New Orleans to compete for the preliminary round of the World War II Quiz Bowl. From that competition, these two teams have emerged to battle here tonight. Let's take a look at how they advanced to this championship round. Good afternoon. Welcome to the National World War II Museum Quiz Bowl here in our beautiful U.S. Freedom Pavilion, the Boeing Center. So now if everybody's ready, we'll start the Quiz Bowl. Which of these territories were not part of the British Empire? What was the official name of the pilots who flew the red-tailed P-51 Mustangs? Name the only U-boat to be sunk in the Gulf of Mexico. What was the Japanese puppet state of Manchukuo formerly called? Which Louisiana native led the famed Flying Tigers in China? What was the last major German offensive in the West? Name this artifact. What type of animal was Chips? What was the name of the route flown? Okay, now for the moment you've been waiting for. Our runner-up today, with a score of 67.5, is the St. Thomas Chindits. Our winners of the 2018 World War II Quiz Bowl is Central High School F4F Wildcats, with a score of 68 points. You had a chance to meet our contestants in the video. Now let's meet them in person. On my right, I have Central High School under the leadership of Randy Mitchell. Students, please buzz in and tell us your name, grade, and your favorite World War II subject to study.
My name is Victor Lopez. I'm a junior in Central High School, and my favorite topic is politics.
My name is Cade Prine. I'm a senior at Central High School, and my favorite subject is the weapons.
My name is Benjamin Mitchell. I'm a junior at Central High School, and my favorite study to study is World War II people.
Thank you, Central High School. On my left, I have St. Thomas High School under the leadership of Mr. Grover Green and Mr. Mike McStravick. This is St. Thomas's second time in the championship. Students, please buzz in, tell us your name, grade, and your favorite World War II subject to study.
My name is Tyler McStravick. I'm a junior at St. Thomas High School, and my favorite topic is the tactics of World War II.
I'm Nicholas Kersey. I'm a sophomore at St. Thomas High School, and my favorite subject to study is the technology of war.
My name is Nicholas Chandler. I'm also a sophomore. My favorite thing to study are uniforms and equipment.
The format of this championship contest is quite different from the preliminary competition. We'll have 4 rounds in tonight's championship. There will be questions about the battlefronts and the home front, the personalities and equipment, code names, and even the movies of the war years. So let's begin round 1. In this first round, there will be 15 toss-up questions. I'll read a question to the first person to buzz in and answer the questions correctly will earn his or her his team 10 points. There's no conferring during this round. Also, if you buzz in before the question is completed and answer incorrectly, your team will lose 5 points. If a player gives an incorrect answer or no answer after buzzing in, a player from the opposing team will have the opportunity to buzz in and answer the question. Again, there's no conferring with team members during this round. Is everybody ready? Let's begin. Question 1. From November to December 1942, Allied forces were engaged in a race to capture which important North African city? It is also the capital of Tunisia.
St. Thomas McStravick.
Tunis.
Tunis is correct. The second question. The Japanese instrument of surrender was signed on board the USS Missouri on September 2nd, 1945, bringing World War II to an end. What class of battleship was the Missouri?
St. Thomas Kersey.
Iowa class.
It was an Iowa-class battleship. Question 3. On September 4th, 1944, the Moscow Armistice was signed, ending the continuation of war between the Soviet Union and which other country?
St. Thomas McStravick.
Finland.
Finland is correct. Question number 4. Which SS Obergruppenführer proposed the final solution at the Wannsee Conference?
St. Thomas McStravick.
Heydrich.
It was Reinhard Heydrich. That is correct. Question number 5. Many of America's senior military leaders during World War II began their military careers as junior officers during World War I. Which of the following World War II generals did not serve in Europe during World War I? George Patton, Douglas MacArthur, George Marshall, or Omar Bradley?
Central Prine.
Omar Bradley.
Omar Bradley is correct. Question number 6. In order to stiffen resistance against German advances, political officers were restored to the Soviet Army and naval units in July of 1941. What were these officers collectively called?
Central Prine.
Commissars.
Commissars is correct. Question number 7. One of the most infamous forced marches in war crimes of World War II was the Baton Death March, in which thousands of American and Filipino prisoners of war perished in April of 1942. What type of landform is Baton? An island?
St. Thomas McStravick.
A peninsula.
A peninsula is correct. Question number 8. Which German city, previously known as the Florence of the Elbe, was controversially bombed by the RAF air raid in 19...
St. Thomas McStravick.
Dresden.
Dresden is correct. Question number 9. On April 18th, 1942, 16 B-25 bombers took off from the USS Hornet to bomb targets in Japan. The B-25 was named for a famous aviator and early advocate of naval air power. What's the aviator's name?
Mitchell.
St. Thomas Chandler.
Mitchell.
Billy Mitchell, or Mitchell is correct. Question number 10. On December 23, 1941, the Japanese began air attacks on Rangoon, Burma. Defending against them were 2 fighter squadrons, one from the RAF and the other from Claire Chennault's AVG. What does AVG stand?
Central Lopez.
American Volunteer Group.
American Volunteer Group is correct. Question number 11. The Normandy D-Day landings took place on 6th June 1944. On D+1, 7 June 1944, Allied forces had already linked 2 of 5 Normandy beaches in preparation for further action. Which 2 beaches had the Allies linked by June 7, 1944?
St. Thomas McStravick.
Utah and Omaha.
That is not correct. Central, do you have an answer?
Central Prine.
Sword and Juneau.
Sword and Juneau beaches are correct. Question number 12. On February 7, 1942, German Minister of Armaments and Munitions Fritz Todt died in an airplane crash. Hitler appointed Albert Speer to replace him. Previously, Speer had served as Hitler's...
St. Thomas McStravick.
Architect.
He was Hitler's architect. Question number 13. In 1942, this U.S. aircraft carrier, hull number CV-7, could be found at Scapa Flow north of Scotland on April 5th, in the Mediterranean on April 20th, off San Diego, California on June 19th, and sinking off Guadalcanal on September 15th?
St. Thomas McStravick.
The Hornet.
That is incorrect.
Central Mitchell.
The Yorktown.
That is also incorrect. It was the USS Wasp. Question 14. This famed World War II regiment, the most decorated unit for its size and length of service in the history of American warfare, comprised mainly of Japanese Americans.
St. Thomas McStravick.
The 442nd Regimental Combat Team.
That is incorrect. I'll finish reading the question. Comprised mainly of Japanese Americans, took this phrase as its motto.
Central Lopez.
Go for broke.
Go for broke is correct. And our last question of this round, the Japanese Mitsubishi G4M Navy Type 1 attack bomber was known to the Allies by which female?
St. Thomas Kersey.
Betty.
Betty is correct. And that's the end of our first round. Before we check the scores, let's take a closer look at the team from St. Thomas High School in Houston, Texas. Our runner-up today, with a score of 67.5, is the St. Thomas Chindits.
I like history, so naturally I just sort of like World War II. I don't say I would say there's a specific point where I started becoming interested in it.
My father was a veteran and was in the Army, so whenever we would go visit him on military bases, there'd usually be aircraft there, and a lot of them were World War II fighters, and I wanted to learn more, so that's where my passion comes from.
That's a question I get asked a lot, especially because I'm so involved in history and stuff like that. However, I couldn't answer it. I've always been interested in World War II since I was very little, and it's just something that's natural to me.
My favorite subject of World War II is the technology of war, especially things like aircraft and armor.
I don't associate myself with a specific topic. It's just I want to learn kind of everything about it. It's just I find it fascinating in general.
My favorite topic by far is definitely uniforms and equipment used by the soldiers in World War II. If you look at a picture, no two people are ever wearing the same thing, and there's so much information about it, so that's what's interesting to me.
I'm studying by watching documentaries on World War II and also listening to lectures.
I'm going to look at the questions that have already been said before and just sort of look up those answers and figure out sort of a study guide and plan for it.
What I'm doing is me and McStravick have very similar ways. I'm reading a lot. I'm looking at past rounds, past years for World War II Quiz Bowl, because those are all very helpful. I don't want to jinx it. However, I am very confident in my team. I think we've been studying a lot, and I think we have a good shot at winning.
I think showing our performance from the testing and what we've done in the past, I think we have a pretty good chance of winning.
We were the champions last year, so I believe we can do it again.
After round one, the scores are in, and St. Thomas is in the lead with 85 points. Central High School is close behind with 50. Great job in the first round, guys. Let's begin round two. This round is our bonus round. I have 8 questions that will work just like the toss-ups in round one, each being worth 10 points. But when a player supplies the correct answer, that team will get the opportunity to answer 4 bonus questions, each worth 5 points, for a total of 20 bonus points. Teams can confer only during the bonus questions. Again, there's a 5-point penalty if you answer the toss-up incorrectly before I have a chance to complete it. So let's start with question number 1 in round 2. In developing the atomic bomb, U.S. scientists used graphite to control the atomic chain reaction. German scientists opted to use deuterium oxide and produce this substance at a hydroelectric plant in
St. Thomas Kersey.
Heavy water.
Heavy water is correct. So now I will ask bonus questions. Near what city and in what state was the first atomic bomb test conducted?
Alamogordo, New Mexico. Yes. Alamogordo, New Mexico.
Alamogordo is correct. Sand that was fused into radioactive glass by the heat of the first atomic bomb test came to be known as trinitite. How did trinitite get its name?
The Trinity test site.
That's correct. The code name for the atomic test was Trinity. Give me the dates that the atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
August 6th and August 9th
Can you be a little more specific?
of 1945.
That is correct. August 6, 1945 and August 9, 1945. Most of us know that the airplane Enola Gay dropped the first atomic bomb. But what was the name of the airplane that dropped the second atomic bomb?
Boxcar.
That's correct. Boxcar. It was named after its commander, Frederick Bach. So our second question of round 2. Although there would be more than 2 years of fighting to go in the Pacific, this June 1942 battle in which the United States decisively defeated the Japanese.
Central, Mitchell.
Midway.
The Battle of Midway is correct. So for your bonus questions, how many Japanese aircraft carriers did the United States sink at the Battle of Midway?
Two.
The answer is 4. Name any 2 of the 3 U.S. aircraft carriers used during the Battle of Midway.
The Lexington and Saratoga.
Unfortunately, it was the Enterprise, Hornet, and Yorktown were the 3 aircraft carriers there. As part of the Midway battle strategy, where did the Japanese diversionary force strike on June 3rd, 1942?
The Aleutian Islands.
The Aleutian Islands are correct. We also would have accepted Kiska and Attu. What's the name of the U.S. Navy cryptanalyst who led the code-breaking effort that revealed the Japanese plan of attack at Midway? Do we have an answer, John?
Oh, sorry.
Okay, the correct answer was Joseph Rochefort. Okay, round 2, question number 3. The first major test of the American Second Corps came in February 1943 in the eastern foothills of the Atlas Mountains. Under the command of Major General Lloyd Fredendall, the Second Corps, along with the British and French forces, were forced to retreat after their defeat in this battle of the Tunisian campaign.
St. Thomas, McStravick.
Kasserine Pass.
The Battle of the Kasserine Pass is correct. So for your bonus questions, following the Allied defeat at the Kasserine Pass, command of the Second Corps was given to this general.
Patton.
George Patton is correct. In the 1970 film Patton, in which events following the Kasserine Pass are depicted, this actor stars in the title role.
That's painful.
Smith, I don't know.
Okay, Smith.
I saw a lot of parents smiling on this one. It's George C. Scott.
Yeah.
In response to the Allied landings in North Africa, Hitler ordered the full occupation of what country?
Of North Africa. So probably Italy? No. Oh, what country?
Algeria?
Oh, France.
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 France or Vichy France are correct. And for the 4th bonus question, the Allied landings in North Africa were followed later in 1943 by landings in Sicily. What was this operation called?
Husky.
Yeah.
Husky.
Operation Husky is correct. Question 4 of round 2. All the images produced during World War II, a poster of a defiant woman rolling up a sleeve in her blue denim work shirt is perhaps the most iconic. In this image, what slogan?
St. Thomas, McStravick.
We can do it.
We can do it is correct. So for your bonus questions, During World War II, which country awarded the Gold Mother's Cross to women who gave birth to 8 children? You could earn a silver for 6 children or a bronze for 4.
The Soviet Union. So the Soviet Union?
That is incorrect. The correct answer is Germany.
Oh, interesting.
Who were the Night Witches?
Well, they were female
Female pilots,
pilots. Yeah.
for the Soviet Union.
Female fighter pilots.
No, just pilots.
Soviet female pilots.
Okay, women Soviet bomber pilots. Also, we would have accepted the 588th Night Bomber Regiment. In March 1941, this woman took an hour-long flight with a Tuskegee Airmen in Alabama to bring recognition and support to the cause of African Americans taking combat roles. Who was this woman?
I would think it's Eleanor Roosevelt.
Eleanor Roosevelt is correct. The Army had the WACs, the Navy had the Waves. What was the name of the Women's Auxiliary of the Coast Guard?
Spars.
The Spars is correct. So question number 5. May 10th, 1940 was a momentous day. The Germans began the invasion of Belgium, France, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands. The British invaded Iceland, and in London, Neville Chamberlain was replaced as the Prime Minister by Winston Churchill.
St. Thomas, McStravick.
Okay. No answer.
By Winston Churchill. Who won the award for Best Actor portraying Churchill in the recent 90th Academy Awards? Central High School.
Central, Lopez.
Joe.
It was Gary Oldman.
Scary.
Okay. Well, we didn't have a correct one on that one. So we'll go to question 6. The most famous member of the all-African-American 761st Tank Battalion never saw action in Europe.
Central, Lopez.
Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson is correct. So for your bonus questions, the first one, in 3 wartime World Series, 1942, 43, and 44, which city was most represented? Was it St. Louis, Chicago, New York, or Detroit?
St. Louis.
St. Louis is correct. During the war, Philip Wrigley created a women's baseball league to keep baseball in the public eye, where minor league teams were disbanding as players entered the military service or into war manufacturing jobs. The league was called the AAG-PBL. What does AAG-PBL stand for?
All-American Girls Professional Baseball League.
The All-American Girls Professional Baseball League is correct. Because of the fear of the Japanese attack on the West Coast in the weeks following Pearl Harbor, which college football bowl game was moved from Pasadena, California to Durham, North Carolina in January of 1942?
The Rose Bowl.
The Rose Bowl is correct. Which American athlete spoiled Hitler's Aryan propaganda campaign by winning 4 gold medals in the 1936 Summer Olympiad in Berlin?
Jesse Owens.
And Jesse Owens is correct. Question 7. On November 11th, 1940, the British launched the first all-aircraft naval attack in history when it attacked and destroyed the Italian fleet in its Mediterranean harbor of Taranto.
Central, Lopez.
No answer.
This carrier-launched air operation against warships signaled the demise of battleship supremacy. It also gave Japan the confidence to plan and execute what preemptive action in the Pacific?
St. Thomas, Chandler.
Pearl Harbor.
The attack on Pearl Harbor is correct. So for your bonus questions, the sinking of which American ship led to the greatest loss of life during the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor?
Arizona. Yeah. Arizona.
The USS Arizona is correct. How many waves of air attacks did the Japanese plan, and how many did they complete on December 7th, 1941?
They planned 3 and they did 2. I'm pretty sure.
No, 2, 1. 2
Okay,
and
I
1.
apologize. We'll do 2.
So they planned 2 and did 1.
They planned 3 and they executed 2. The attack on Pearl Harbor was described by President Roosevelt in a speech to Congress as a day that will live in infamy. What day of the week did FDR make that speech?
Monday.
Okay. Monday.
Monday is correct. And finally, on which Hawaiian island is Pearl Harbor located?
Oahu.
Yeah. Oahu.
Yeah, the island of Oahu is correct. For question 8, this famous pilot flew numerous combat missions in the Pacific as a civilian advisor with the Marines and the Army Air Forces. But his early tacit support of the Nazi regime sullied...
St. Thomas, McStravick.
Lindbergh.
Charles Lindbergh is correct. And for your bonus questions, a term invented in World War I and used ever after for pilots with 5 or more aerial victories or kills is?
Ace.
Ace, or flying ace, is correct. This allied nation was the only country who could boast of having female aces. 2 of them, in fact. What country is it?
The Soviet Union. Yeah.
Soviet Union.
The Soviet Union is correct. Known for its distinctive twin booms and single central nacelle and fuselage, what was the service name of the Lockheed P-38?
Yeah. Lightning. Lightning.
That's right, it was the P-38 Lightning. In May 1943, Olympian Louis Zamperini survived 47 days adrift in the Pacific following a crash landing of this type of bomber manufactured by the Consolidated Aircraft Company.
B-24.
B-24.
It was the B-24 Liberator. Great job on round 2. We're going to give everyone a chance to catch their breath now. We're halfway through our exciting competition. The excitement continues with an update of the scores after the break. Everyone stay tuned.
I was born in the heart of New Orleans. My sisters and I were sent around the world in World War II. After the war came civilian life, and just when I thought my days were done, a dedicated restoration crew brought me back to life, back home in New Orleans. Now you can be a part of my story.
PT 305, the ride of a lifetime. Book a ride or tour today at pt305.org.
In World War II, the road to Berlin followed many paths. Some marched the sun-scorched deserts of North Africa, while others crawled the sands of Omaha Beach. From the rubble-strewn streets of Italy to the frozen forest of the Ardennes, each soldier, sailor, and airman's journey was his own. But all were united by a common cause: victory. Follow in their footsteps on the road to Berlin, new at the National World War II Museum.
Kids collecting scrap, women building bombers. America in wartime. In the wake of Japan's attack, American soldiers marched into battle while citizens rallied on the home front. They built an arsenal of democracy in ration lines and victory gardens and factories across the United States. Experience how the home front supported the front lines and helped win the war at the Arsenal of Democracy at the National World War II Museum.
Welcome back to the championship round of the National World War II Museum's 2018 High School Quiz Bowl, presented by the New Orleans Advocate. We're live in the Cox Studios tonight with the 2 final teams, Central High and St. Thomas High. During the break, we tabulated the scores, and St. Thomas High School is leading Central High with a score of 215 to 90. So now we're ready to begin round 3, our lightning round. There are 4 categories of questions in this round. Team members will have only 90 seconds to answer all 10 questions in your category. Correct answers are 10 points each, and all questions are visual and will appear on the monitors. Our 4 categories are Who Am I? What Am I? What Year Is It? And World War II Era Motion Pictures. The team trailing at this point in the competition will choose the first category. Since that team is Central High, please tell us, what category do you choose?
Who am I?
Who am I? Okay. We're getting ready to start, and okay, Central High School. Who am I?
Benjamin O. Davis Jr.
That is Benjamin O. Davis. He, the leader of the Yugoslav partisans.
Tito.
That is correct. The only other member of the U.S. Congress to vote against the declaration of war on Japan.
Pass.
That was Jeanette Rankin. Japanese radio propagandist.
Tokyo Rose.
Tokyo Rose is correct. Conscripted into the Hitler Youth at age 14, he studied theology after the war and was elevated to the papacy in 2005.
John Paul the 17th.
That is Pope Benedict the 16th, or Joseph Ratzinger, was Prime Minister of Great Britain from 1937 to 1940.
Neville Chamberlain.
Neville Chamberlain is correct. The American physicist that directed the Los Alamos Laboratory during the Manhattan Project.
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer is correct. The American reporter who was stationed in London during the Blitz, his famous tagline was, "This is London."
Murrow.
Edward R. Murrow is correct. Joined the OSS and helped develop the shark repellent. After the war, her cooking career made her famous with many television series and cookbooks.
Betty Crocker.
Julia Child. Early civil rights leader and education advocate, a close friend of Franklin Roosevelt. She was a member of his black cabinet.
Pass.
Mary McLeod Bethune. Okay. So, St. Thomas High School, what category do you choose?
Okay, we'll go with What Am I?
Okay. What am I? And we will start. Identify these objects.
Norden bomb site.
Norden bomb site.
Norden bomb site is correct.
The gadget.
Yeah, Trinity gadget.
Sure. Just okay.
Trinity gadget.
The Trinity gadget is correct.
A
Air siren or searchlight?
okay, air siren looks air siren.
No, that is the German big ear or acoustic locator.
P-40 Warhawk.
Yeah, P-40 Warhawk.
P-40 Warhawk is correct. Next.
This is the 10th Mountain Division. Yeah. The 10th Mountain Division.
Nope, that is the Red Ball Express patch.
Rupert's dummy.
Rupert, yeah.
Rupert.
Okay, so Rupert.
The Rupert dummy is correct.
The Bangalore torpedo.
No.
Oh, it's the airfield building strips.
Well, yeah. What is they called?
I forgot.
Airfield strips.
Marsden matting.
Okay.
Yeah. Oka.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Oka. It's
Oka.
the Oka.
Yeah. Oka.
It is the Japanese kamikaze Yokosuka MXY-7.
A rivet gun.
Yeah, rivet.
That is a rivet gun, or a rivet hammer would have been fine.
Okay.
So that's correct.
Hitler Youth.
Yeah, like a armband.
Nazi armband.
Yeah. Nazi armband.
That would be a Hitler Youth armband.
Hitler.
Okay. Central High School, we have either What Year Is It or World War II era motion pictures.
What year is it?
What year is it? Watch your screen. So team in this, you will be looking for a year.
(1942).
1942 is correct. Teams, don't worry, you won't be penalized on time for this.
1936.
1936 is correct.
(1944).
1944 is correct.
1945.
1945 is correct.
(1933).
1933 is correct.
1942.
1942 is also correct.
1938.
1938 is correct.
1945.
1945 is correct.
1943.
No, this is 1937.
1940.
That is 1939. Okay, so St. Thomas High School, that leaves you with the final remaining category of World War II era motion pictures. So we are looking, you're going to see a movie poster, and you have to tell us what that movie is.
Okay. So this is just Gone with the Wind. Yes. Gone with the Wind.
Gone with the Wind is correct.
Orson? Oh, Citizen Kane. Yeah. Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane is correct.
Oh, no. Fantasia.
One of my personal favorites. Fantasia is correct.
Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah.
Grapes of Wrath.
The Grapes of Wrath is also correct.
Triumph of the Will.
Triumph of the Will or Triumph des Wollens are all correct.
The Great Dictator. The Great Dictator.
The Great Dictator is correct.
Yeah, Casablanca.
Casablanca is correct.
Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz is correct.
Yeah, the werewolf makes sense. Okay. The Werewolf?
The Wolfman is a movie. That is incorrect.
Oh. What's Cary Grant? Oh. I have no idea. Can we pass?
The correct answer on that would have been His Girl Friday. So everyone did a great job in that round. Before we take a look at the scores, let's take a closer look at the team from Central High School from Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
I've always been really interested in history, and so when I found out there was a quiz bowl team, I wanted to join it, see how I'd stack up.
Well, I wasn't born here, and I was born in El Salvador. And my grandpa had books about history, and every part of history goes back to World War II. It's like a circle. So I was interested in World War II, but I didn't find a way to use that knowledge for something. When I moved here to the U.S., I found something, World War II, quiz bowl, and that was something I could use my knowledge, and use it for something good.
My favorite part about quiz bowl and competing is probably being a part of the team and just being able to feed our knowledge off of each other and just be able to teach each other about these new interesting things that we would never heard about.
My favorite part about World War II is politics and how they shape the world in today.
My favorite part about World War II is definitely the people, just the extraordinaryism of these men and women during this time period, and just their resolve, their just absolute valor. It's just great.
Our winners of the 2018 World War II Quiz Bowl is Central High School F4F Wildcats with a score of 68 points.
We won the preliminaries, and that was really just the most amazing feeling.
We just kind of went in and learned the best we could, learned as much as we could, and managed to come in first. It was a great experience.
Last year was very hard because it was first year, but this year I was more prepared mentally to go there and compete, and we won. So I attribute that we won for being prepared mentally.
We're preparing for the finals, which is on Thursday, and we're practicing every single day, and we're just gonna go out there and give it our best.
We've been going a lot more in depth, and we've been working a lot with the buzzers and getting great used to how it'll be in the finals.
I'm very confident, even though we haven't been there before, but I expect that we'll win because we're ready for a fight. And we have studied every single day this past 2 weeks, so that's why I think we might win.
Well, the scores are in, and after 3 rounds, our score is St. Thomas High at 345 and Central High School at 230 points. Our 4th and final round will be similar to our first round. I'll read the first question, and the first person to buzz in and answer the question correctly will earn his team 10 points. There's no conferring in this round. Also, if you buzz in before the question is completed and answer incorrectly, your team will lose 5 points. If a player gives an incorrect answer or no answer, a player from the second team has the opportunity to buzz in and answer the question. Again, there's no conferring with team members during this round. Here we go. The symbol for the Schutzstaffel, or SS, as well as many other Nazi symbols, were adapted from an ancient Norse alphabet letters known as what?
St. Thomas McStravick.
Runes.
Runes is correct. Question number 2. How many stars were on the national flag of the United States?
St. Thomas McStravick.
48.
48 stars is correct. Question number 3. Sinclair Lewis's 1935 book, It Can't Happen Here, tells the story of a populist nation, a populist politician who rises to the U.S. presidency promising simple solutions and using bullying tactics. Once in office, he imposes totalitarian rule through intimidation and violence. What real Louisiana politician?
St. Thomas McStravick.
Long.
Huey P. Long is correct. Saipan, Guam, and Tinian were all part of which Pacific island group?
Central Mitchell.
The Marianas.
The Mariana Islands is correct. Question number 5. Who was the commanding officer in the China, Burma, and India Theater of Operation?
St. Thomas McStravick.
Stillwell.
Vinegar Joe Stillwell is correct. In a speech he gave to top SS officials on October 4th, 1943 in Posen, Poland, Heinrich Himmler said, in part, "We can now very openly talk about this amongst ourselves, and yet we will never discuss this publicly." What goal was he referring to?
Central Lopez.
The final solution?
The answer is the Holocaust or the extermination of Jews. Those are the two answers that we would have accepted. Round 4, question 7. Sophie and Hans Scholl were members of what German
St. Thomas McStravick.
White Rose.
The White Rose is correct. Question number 8. Europe's post-war reorganization and the reestablishment of national borders in Europe were discussed at what conference in
St. Thomas McStravick.
Yalta.
The Yalta Conference is correct. Question number 9. Radar uses beams of microwaves to bounce off distant objects. Microwaves get absorbed in water. What type of waves?
Central Lopez.
Sound.
Sound waves is correct. Complete that answer was what types of waves are used by sonar, and the answer was sound waves. That was correct. Question number 10. Which of the following items was not invented during World War II? The atomic bomb, radar, the tank, M&Ms.
St. Thomas Kersey.
The tank.
The tank is correct. Question number 11. This Nazi collaborator headed the government of Norway at
St. Thomas McStravick.
Quisling.
Vidkun Quisling is correct. Question number 12. At the end of World War II, what country resumed colonial control over Vietnam,
Central Lopez.
France.
France is correct. Question number 13. All of the following are code names for American operations in the Pacific during World War II except one. Dragoon,
Central Prime.
Dragoon.
Dragoon is correct. Question 14. The first action on D-Day occurred soon after midnight on June 6, 1944. It saw elements of the 6th British Airborne Division attack and secure a bridge over the Caen Canal. What was this bridge?
St. Thomas McStravick.
Pegasus.
Pegasus Bridge is correct. Question number 15. Who can list in the correct chronological order the 3 national leaders?
Central Lopez.
FDR, Mussolini, and Hitler.
To finish the question, the 3 national leaders who died in April of 1945, it was correct. It was Roosevelt, Mussolini, and Hitler. Well done. He was able to read my mind. Question number 16. After discovering the wreck of the USS Indianapolis only 6 months earlier, Microsoft's Paul Allen recently discovered the wreck.
Central, Lopez.
Lexington.
The USS Lexington is correct. The rest of the question was, discovered the wreck of this aircraft carrier sunk in the aftermath of the Battle of the Coral Sea, and it was the USS Lexington. Question 17. In U.S. Army organization, which is largest, a brigade, a regiment, or a battalion?
St. Thomas, McStravick.
A regiment?
A brigade. To get from Sicily to Italy, you must cross that body of water. You must cross what body of water?
St. Thomas, McStravick.
The Strait of Messina?
The Strait of Messina is correct. Question 19. When the USS Juneau was sunk on November 14, 1942, during the Battle for Guadalcanal, how many Sullivan brothers from Waterloo, Iowa were killed?
Central, Lopez.
4.
That is incorrect.
5.
5. Frank, George, Matt, Al, and Joe. And since there was an incorrect question earlier that I did not give Central an opportunity to answer, this question is going to be for Central. Which Nazi leader convicted at the Nuremberg trials stayed in prison the longest until his death in 1987 at the age of 93?
Central, Lopez.
Rudolf Hess.
Rudolf Hess is correct. Question number 21. What iconic event did photographer Joe Rosenthal...
St. Thomas, Chandler.
The flag raising on Iwo Jima.
The flag raising on Iwo Jima is correct. Question number 22. Operation Magic Carpet came...
Central, Mitchell.
It was the operation to bring soldiers back home from European and Pacific theaters.
To finish the question, Operation Magic Carpet came after the conclusion of World War II. What was its goal? And that is correct. It was to bring American troops back home. Number 23. Robert Oppenheimer headed up the civilian portion of the Manhattan Project. Who oversaw the project for...
St. Thomas, McStravick.
Groves.
General Leslie Groves is correct. Number 24. The Laconia Order, issued for German submarines in early 1943, forbade them from doing what?
St. Thomas, McStravick.
Picking up enemy soldiers.
Can you be more specific?
Picking up people who had been shipwrecked, who had been sunk, a ship that they had sunk.
Yeah, you got it on that one. Picking up survivors from torpedoed or sinking ships. And our last question of the night. Although outlawed by international conventions, which two Axis powers use...
St. Thomas, McStravick.
Italy and Japan.
To finish the question, which two Axis powers use chemical warfare on the battlefield? And it is correct, they were Italy and Japan. Great job, everybody. The questions have all been answered by now, and the teams are anxiously await the results. We'll take a short break, and we'll crown a champion when we return to the National World War II Museum's 2018 High School Quiz Bowl Championship, sponsored by the New Orleans Advocate. Stay tuned.
It should have been impossible, crossing the world's widest ocean to answer an attack made by a powerful adversary. From island to island to island, we fought through hostile terrain, malnutrition, disease, and at every step, an enemy that just kept coming. It should have been impossible. Find out how millions of Americans pushed past impossible on the road to Tokyo, new at the National World War II Museum.
I was born in the heart of New Orleans. My sisters and I were sent around the world in World War II. After the war came civilian life, and just when I thought my days were done, A dedicated restoration crew brought me back to life, back home in New Orleans. Now you can be a part of my story.
PT 305, the ride of a lifetime. Book a ride or tour today at pt305.org.
Kids collecting scrap. Women building bombers. America in wartime. In the wake of Japan's attack, American soldiers marched into battle while citizens rallied on the home front. They built an arsenal of democracy in ration lines and victory gardens and factories across the United States. Experience how the home front supported the front lines and helped win the war at the Arsenal of Democracy at the National World War II Museum.
Welcome back to the championship round of the National World War II Museum's 2018 World War II Quiz Bowl. It's been a very exciting evening, and one of our teams has emerged as the victor. Before we announce that, I do have one correction. I have spoken with our judges, and question number 6 earlier, we marked an answer as being incorrect. Central gave an answer of the final solution, and our judges have accepted that, so 10 more points will be awarded to Central High School. So the moment that we've all been waiting for. Our runner-up this evening with a score of 320 points is Central High School. There you go. Good job, guys. And with a score of 495 points is St. Thomas High School. They're our 2018 High School Quiz Bowl champion. Well done, guys. Congratulations to both schools on a great competition. I want to recognize all the hard work that's gone into making this competition a success. We give a special thanks to our sponsor, the New Orleans Advocate. Also thanks to the teachers, principals, and parents of all the students who have competed in this year's competition. Also thanks to the team at Cox Communications for hosting us again this year. The Education Department at the National World War II Museum who wrote, scored, and organized this year's Quiz Bowl. And congratulations to St. Thomas High School, our 2018 World War II Quiz Bowl champions. Thanks for watching. We look forward to seeing you again next year. Good night.
YurView celebrates Women's History Month with Dana Zimbrick and classics for kids.